welcome to The Explainer. So, when you hear the word pesticides, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? If you're like most of us, it probably triggers instant anxiety, right? You're standing there in the produce aisle, staring at these gorgeous leafy greens, and you just can't help but wonder what invisible stuff is clinging to the surface, and whether you should actually be worried about feeding it to your family. It really brings up this massive, looming question. Are pesticides really that dangerous? I mean, we see the scary headlines literally all the time, and there's this endless debate over whether conventional produce is safe or if going totally organic is your only real option. Well, today we're going to separate fact from fear by taking a hard look directly at the science behind our food system. So here is our roadmap to systematically unpack modern agriculture today. First, what exactly are pesticides? 2, why farmers actually need these tools? 3, are these residues dangerous? 4, the big organic farming misconception. And 5, what really matters for your health. Okay, let's dive right into section 1. What exactly are pesticides? The tools of crop protection. Instead of treating this like some abstract, scary chemical threat, we really need to look at what these tools actually do. Pesticides are, quite simply, substances used to protect crops from insects, weeds, fungi, and diseases. It's like a giant shield for our food. Without this protection, well, estimates suggest farmers could lose up to 40% of global harvests to pests. 40%! That would mean drastically reduced food supplies and absolutely skyrocketing prices every time you hit the grocery store. It really helps to map these agricultural problems directly to their solutions. So insects are managed with insecticides, weeds are tackled with herbicides, fungi with fungicides, and rodents with rodenticides. You see, it's not just one vague, toxic blanket being sprayed everywhere. It's actually a highly specific, clinical set of tools designed to solve exact agricultural hurdles. Moving on to section 2, why farmers need these tools, managing large-scale agriculture. You know, growing food for billions of people is an entirely different ballgame than just tending a couple of backyard tomatoes. Farmers absolutely rely on these tools to protect their crop yields and drastically reduce food waste before a single apple even leaves the field. This kind of efficient pest management sets off a massive chain reaction. It keeps our global food supply incredibly consistent and ensures that prices stay affordable for all of us day in and day out. All right, section 3. Are these residues dangerous? Understanding safety and exposure. Okay, this is where the conversation usually gets pretty heated, right? But here is the absolute core thesis you need to remember. The presence of a pesticide residue does not automatically mean a food is unsafe. Today's testing equipment is unbelievably sensitive. We're talking about detecting parts per billion. To put that into perspective, that's like finding a single drop of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. But detection is not the same thing as danger. In toxicology, the golden rule is always the dose makes the poison. The actual risk depends entirely on the volume of exposure, not just the microscopic presence of a chemical. To make absolutely sure our exposure stays strictly in the safe zone, there are massive regulatory safeguards in place. Agencies like the EPA, the USDA, and the FDA require incredibly extensive pre-approval evaluations before a chemical ever even touches a field. They establish extremely strict boundaries, known as maximum residue limits, built specifically to protect public health. And through regular, rigorous government testing, they make sure residues consistently remain well below those safety thresholds. Which brings us to section 4, the organic farming misconception, natural versus synthetic. So let's tackle one of the biggest myths in the entire food debate. Are organic foods completely pesticide-free? I mean, the overwhelming assumption is that picking up an organic apple means zero chemicals, right? Well, funnily enough, plants actually produce their own natural pesticides just to fend off bugs on their own, meaning we're eating natural pesticides literally every single day. But the idea that organic farming itself uses zero applied pesticides, that is a total misconception. Here's the reality. Both conventional and organic farmers are out there facing the exact same bugs and the exact same crop diseases. So guess what? They both use pesticides. The only real difference is where they come from. Conventional farming primarily uses synthetic pesticides, while organic farming uses approved natural pesticides, things like copper sulfate or neem oil. The whole distinction lies purely in whether the substance is derived from nature or synthesized in a lab. Remember, natural definitely does not mean non-toxic, and organic absolutely does not mean pesticide-free. Finally, section 5. What matters for your health? Actionable steps and big picture nutrition. Let's shift our focus away from worrying about microscopic residues and talk about some practical, actionable steps you can easily take right at home. You can further reduce any residue exposure just by thoroughly washing your produce under running water, peeling things when it makes sense, snapping off the outer leaves of greens like cabbage, and making sure you store your food properly. These are super simple, everyday habits that basically put you in total control of your kitchen's food safety. But listen, if there is one ultimate takeaway from all this science, it's exactly what nutrition experts consistently emphasize over and over again. We just need to eat more fruits and vegetables, period. Whether that produce is organic or conventional, eating a diet packed with colorful, whole foods drastically improves your heart health and your overall longevity. The incredibly well-documented benefits of eating plants completely outshine any microscopic concerns you might have about residues. It really comes down to this. Knowledge, not fear, is the foundation of smarter food choices. By actually understanding why these agricultural tools are used and just how strictly they are regulated, you completely remove the anxiety from the equation. So the next time you're wandering down the produce aisle, are you going to let fear dictate your diet? Or will you build a balanced, nutrient-rich plate with absolute confidence? Thank you so much for exploring the science with me today in this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.